Hi, good evening. Thank you for tuning into this video. So we're going to start an entirely new chapter. We are going to talk about solving inequalities. Okay? So an inequality, I would suggest that you highlight this definition. It's a mathematical sentence that uses an inequality symbol to compare the values of two expressions. All right, so here are some examples down here on this little chart. I'll move this up a little. So this symbol is the greater than symbol. So here we have x is greater than 5. That means that x can be any value greater than 5. If I wanted to show this on a number line, I would just draw my number line. Here's my 0. Here's my 5. So x is greater than 5 means x can be any value to the right of 5 on the number line. Let me extend my number line a little. There we go. Okay, so this graph right here is how you would indicate x being greater than 5. Notice I have an open circle because it's greater than 5 and not greater than or equal to 5. So you have an open circle and then you have the arrow going to the right of 5. Okay, so here's the less than symbol. So an inequality, an example of inequality would be x is less than negative 8. So that means x can be any value less than negative 8. If I wanted to graph that, I'm going to graph my 0 here. Here's my negative 8. So it's going to be any value less than negative 8. Okay? So it's going to be an open circle, and then you have the arrow going to the left. You shade the arrow going to the left. Okay? Now in this next example, you have a greater than or equal to symbol. So what that means is, so for instance, take x is greater than or equal to 5. That means that x can be any value equal to or greater than 5. So if you wanted to graph that, you would have a number line. Here's my 0. Here's my 5. Okay? So if it's greater than or equal to 5, you need to have a closed circle because of the equal sign right here. And then you shade to the right of 5. Here, let me move that over so you can see. So I'm still getting used to doing the videos. If you have any suggestions on how this can be clear, please let me know. All right, so now let's go back to our symbol. So we also have the less than or equal to symbol. So an example of that is x is less than or equal to negative 8. So that means that x can be any value equal to or less than negative 8. So same thing, to graph that, I draw my number line. I hope you're copying this down because you're going to be graded if you fill out the information the way I want you to fill out. Here's my negative 8. And this one's also going to be a shaded circle because of the equal sign underneath this, because it's going to be less than or equal to. So because of that, you shade in the circle, and then since it's less than, I'm going to make the arrow going to the left. So that's a quick review. Now let's go to actually solving inequalities. So when you're solving inequalities, you are finding, I'll get my hand out of the way so you can write, finding the values of x that make the inequality true. Go ahead and write this down. Okay? So you are finding the values of x that make the inequalities true. Okay, can you see all of that? You can push pause if you need more time to write that down. So inequalities are going to have multiple solutions. Like, take the above example. If something is going to be less than or equal to negative 8, well, the solution could be negative 9, negative 10, negative 11, and so forth. So a very important thing to remember is that inequalities will have multiple solutions. So let's go down here. Solving inequalities are very similar to solving equations. The only difference is when you multiply or divide by a negative number, you must flip the sign. Okay, after you write it down, put a star by that. So whenever you're dividing or multiplying by a negative number, you have to flip the sign. So now you should be asking yourself, well, why do I have to flip the sign? Okay, well, that's great. I am about to tell you. So let's look over here at this scenario. Suppose you have 3 is less than 5, okay? Now, whatever I do to one side of the inequality, I have to also do to the other side of the inequality. So let's say that I'm going to multiply this side of the inequality by -1. I'm also going to have to multiply the other side of the inequality by -1. Well, -1 times 3 is -3. 5 times -1 is -5. However, if I put a less than symbol right there, that's not going to make the inequality true because -3 is actually greater than -5. So to make this inequality true, I have to flip the sign. Okay, so make yourself a note, flip sign for inequality to be true. Okay? Now, let's go ahead and just look at one example. Let's look at this example. 5x minus 4 is less than -8. Like I said, to solve this inequality, you do the exact same steps as you would an equation. Now, write down everything I'm writing down because I want you to show your work the way I'm showing my work right here. If you don't show the work the way I'm showing it right here, it's going to be counted off. So first thing I have to do is I have to add 4 to both sides. So +4 here and then +4 here. Okay? When I add 4 to both sides, I'll get 5x on this side. -8 plus 4 is just -4. Okay, now I have to divide both sides by 5 in order to get x by itself. So I divide by 5. Now, on these questions, I want you to leave it as a fraction. Do not convert to a decimal. Leave your answers as fractions. If it can be simplified, then simplify them. In this case, we'll just have x is less than -4/5. That can't be reduced, so that will be my final answer. Now, let's say I wanted to graph this. X is less than -4/5. To graph this, I'm just going to draw my number line. Here's my 0. Here's my -1. Here's my -4/5. Okay, because it's just a less than symbol, not a less than or equal to symbol, I need an open circle. Since it's less than, I got a shade to the left, just like that. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to try this practice problem on your own. I want you to solve this inequality and then graph it. Go ahead and do that now, and then tomorrow in class I'll be checking to make sure that you did the practice problem. God bless you and have a good evening.